Hi, it's Anika from Living for Later, and I want to share with you today from this thought: the more I look, the more I see. So about a month or so ago, my husband came home and he shared with us that someone shared with him this question: how did you see God today? So he decided to come home and implement that with the family. And pretty much you're asking, when you ask the question, how did you see God today, you're asking, what are the praiseworthy moments that took place during the day? So it's a deliberate reflection on the goodness of God. And I tell you, we've been doing that just spontaneously, whether it's at dinner time or on the go, and it's really created a mindset shift for me, because I realize that the more I look, the more I see. And what I mean by this is, the more I look for the praiseworthy moments and the more I'm deliberate about magnifying God and the goodness of God, the more I see his goodness on display. Things that I would have overlooked in the past, because it's so interesting how as humans we're so inclined to focus on the negative. We're so inclined to magnify the bad. And the more you're looking and sharing the negative things, the more you're going to see. You start a story, you just go on and on and on about the negative. And it's not to say that there's not a place to share, some of the difficulties that we endure. However, that should not take front and center stage of our mind. It's more, God, let me look for your goodness. Let me look for how you have moved on my behalf. And like I said, the more I look for the goodness of God and to see how his hand has moved, the more I see. And I can't help but to wonder how many praiseworthy moments I missed because I wasn't looking for them, because I was stuck in my feelings. And I tell you this something happened probably a week and a half ago. And this was after we were in the habit of looking to see how God was moving. So we have an older vehicle, a van that's like 14 years old, right? So naturally some issues come along with it, but our mindset is we're gonna ride it until it's done, right? Because we're not paying a car note. So that's a whole nother story. So in any case, so I'm driving the van the other day, and my daughter, who's on the basketball team, forgot her basketball uniform for the day that they were supposed to take pictures. So she called me during lunch and she's like, hey, can you bring my uniform to me? And this is a daughter, I didn't get worked up because this is one of the daughters that's extremely responsible. She's normally on top of it. So I realized this was like an honest mistake and it wasn't her just being negligent. So there was no issue with me going to bring her uniform. So I was able to take her uniform, and I was able to leave the school, drop some things off at the library. And at this point, the two younger children were already out of school, because this daughter is in school a little bit longer because of her grade. So I'm dropped off the uniform, dropped things off at the library, and I'm driving back home, and suddenly the van starts to slow down, and I'm like, what is going on here? And I am able to pull over just in time. And I mean, when I got out the van and looked, the tire was like flat, like absolutely flat. And in that moment, I could have just been like, oh my goodness, it's freezing outside and I'm stuck here with, these younger children, and this is going on and I can't believe, and man, I wish we had the money to purchase a new van. Instead, my mind didn't even go there. It was more, God, I thank you that I was able to get Hannah's uniform to her on time, and that you had it happen where I was able to pull over to the side of the road and not be stuck in the middle of the road. And my first response was to see the goodness of God. Was I disappointed that this happened? Absolutely. But then the fact that I was looking to see God move and how he was moving, something else happened. At least 3 different individuals pulled over to ask me if I was okay. Total strangers. And I know it sounds so simple, but I think in this day and age where there is sometimes even a lot of racial conflict, and believe me, it's very much real. I've been a victim to that, to racism, so I'm not gonna even pretend like it doesn't happen. But the three individuals that pulled over to ask me if I was okay were people that didn't look like me, and they were very kind. And I said, God, you're using this to show me that not everybody is a racist, right? And it's so easy when you've experienced it to kind of go down that path, right, and become jaded. But it was just such a fresh reminder. And another person that pulled over to ask me if I was okay was one of my neighbors. She was driving, and I was like, God, look at your goodness. What are the odds that she happens to be driving along the street and she saw me stranded, and she was on her way to pick up her children, and she was willing to turn around, right, to come and check on me to see if I was okay. And you know, we ended up working it out where she went and got her kids and then came back and transported me and the younger children back home, and my husband was able to come and meet the people, to roadside assistance. So all of that, was it inconvenient? Absolutely. But I saw even more the goodness of God on display. And I was just really reflecting on the circumstance after I came home. And I was just blown away, because there's even more to the story that because of the length of the video, I don't want to go on and on. But in any case, I saw in multiple ways the goodness of God. And it just helped me to see that, Anika, the more you look, the more you see. And it's not that praising God immediately changes your situation, but it absolutely changes you. It changes your perspective. So I'm like, God, I'm trying my best to be so intentional as I go throughout the day, to lift my heart in thanksgiving, to look for how He is moving. We love to say God is good all the time, and all the time God is good. And listen, that's not just some cute little saying. That is such a truth that has been so illuminated in my spirit. And God being good doesn't mean that I'm never going to have adversity. It doesn't mean that I'm never going to be in a place where I'm lacking. God being good doesn't mean that I will never have discomfort. But the fact that God is good is that I can lift my hands and praise regardless of my circumstance, regardless of the discomfort, because I know that even in the difficulty, because God is good, He's going to cause those difficulties to work together for my good. So I just want to encourage you, like, all of us got some stories to tell of the difficulties that we have gone through or are going through or will end up going through. But look to see how God is present. Look for those praiseworthy moments, because I guarantee the more you look, the more you will see. All right, so I will end there. You be blessed.